next speaker began his hospitality career at an early age while working at his family's hotel. He now oversees hotel relations and business operations and strategy at the world's largest hotel metasearch firm. Please welcome Johannes Thomas, Managing Director and Chief Revenue Officer, Trivago.
Hey.
Welcome, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
So I want to ask you first about your parents' hotel.
Okay.
What was that like? How many rooms?
Rather small.
Marriott? Hyatt?
No, it was independent. Yeah, it is still independent. 23 rooms, so small, but cozy. Nice restaurant attached, nice bistro attached, and yeah, quite some experiences there. Diving in.
What were your jobs?
It was mostly kitchen. Yeah, so early days with a passion for cooking and so on, diving into that, and then a couple of other experiences in other hotels. Guest relations, so everything what you can think about in the hotel, pretty much touched, but then found technology and marketing at a company and got very excited about that.
And about not working at a hotel?
Yes, I think the first the excitement for technology hit me, and the working hours. Yeah, being in a very fixed environment, working when everybody has fun, pretty much. Was not for me. So I decided to stay in hospitality, travel, but moving to the technology side, marketing, and glad.
Well, so let's talk about some of that. But I have to say, first off, you have kind of screwed up a big piece of my interview. So I had all these questions planned about how you guys weren't making any money, and you weren't going to make any money. And then you released your first quarter earnings, and it looks like you actually made quite a bit of money.
Yep.
I know that was convenient for you, but not very convenient for me. So can you walk us through what happened? Was it flipping a switch, or what led to this big shift? Because it really surprised the market.
You mean the shift to profitability?
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit a myth that is we are repeating it and again. We have been growing, and our business got investment of 1.4 million, and we drove it to this year €1 billion on a profitable basis, and we always have been operating at a profitable cash flow. Out of our own cash flow, even when Expedia went in, they bought out the other investors, we never fueled in more cash than 1.4 million. And that's why we never have not been profitable. That is a little bit of a misinterpretation of the numbers. And now we are deciding where we want to keep investing.
But you did report, you have reported losses in the past, which is why there was some of this, these questions.
Yes, we have seen that, and it's moving from one accounting principle to another. It's rather a bookkeeping topic that turned from us moving from a German market to the US that led to changes in accounting, and that was basically did not impact our cash flow. That we always have been operating out of our own cash flow and investing from one market where we invested, became profitable. We took this profit and invested it into the next market, repeating, building a brand and building our product there.
So one of the questions, though, around Trivago has always been, though, the enormous advertising spend, and we see it in research that we've done. I mean, Trivago derives a much higher percentage of its inbound traffic from paid sources like paid search and display. And I think there's been some indications that when you guys spend, you're making Google, very, very, very happy, and there's concern about how aggressive you are, and if you can maintain that spend and continue on the path that you started in the first quarter. So
yeah, I think when we look back at year 2008, 2009, we were 90% dependent on Google. Yeah? That was really a situation where we said, what can we do to scale faster, and to diversify our mix. And that is when we turned into TV, building a brand, and it works very, very well for us. So we figured out how to operate TV so you are profitable and optimizing the different channels as efficient as possible, and that has led to where we are today. And it's actually the case that today more than 50% of our traffic is coming from branded traffic. Search is about 30% coming from search. So it's not the case that we get our majority of traffic through paid traffic. It's our majority of traffic is actually coming through branded traffic through our TV advertising.
So, and is that primarily driven from the TV campaigns, which are now, you know, synonymous, right, with Trivago, the Trivago guy?
Our branded traffic is absolutely driven from the TV campaigns, and it's pretty much the same in all the different markets. It's actually, we are not. In many markets, we didn't go in with online marketing, then brand. We started with brand marketing, then following with online marketing, because you also see very positive dynamics on your paid search performance when you start building a brand. And that's what we are doing in more than 50 markets. We are operating now TV campaigns. And wherever we're more profitable, we take that profit and invest it into another market.
So I want to just play, can we play that quick, the video? We've got a sampling of, well, there's no longer one Trivago guy, there's many.
There's actually 24 of them. Yeah? So we're in Trivago with
Cada site tem preço diferente para o
24
mesmo
different
quarto.
actors.
Precies dezelfde kamer. Trouver hotel ideal.
So what you can see here,
Hoteli z ponad 200 różnych
framework
stron.
is the same.
تسلم الويب دان
We're just
aplikasyon yang
exchanging the
berbeza.
actor,
بدلا من البحث لساعات
Leda Fendi El Hotel.
and there's
kolayca
24 of them.
bulabilirsiniz. Trivago'ya girin.
핫한 가격으로 찾아보세요.
And we're producing all of this in-house.
Wybierz datę przyjazdu i
So
wyjazdu.
we are very flexible how we tweak the spots. We've produced hundreds of spots over the past year.
How do you identify those, you know, those specific actors, and you also do a lot of testing of these? Like, what's your process for identifying this, and also how do you? I mean, we just heard a whole session this morning about kind of the variation, you know, across Asia. I mean, how do you balance this, kind of maintaining this framework and maintaining this global brand, and yet accounting for all of the diversity?
Yeah. So I think the big question is complexity here, and we're usually very pragmatic company, keeping things simple. In the past, we had a spot that was the same actors all over the place. We had a different language voiceover, but then we tried this more educational spot in the US, and it worked very good with Tim Williams. Was quite successful, and what we learned, we can take this spot and create dozens of variations around that and work on different features of our website, explaining our value proposition from different angles. Now we have brought a second actor in the US, a female actor, where we think where TV is going is also pretty much what you do in display marketing. You target different target groups with different ads, and that's what we call micro-targeting. Even in TV, different programs, different channels, different target groups. You know, a Hispanic spot maybe for the Hispanic population in the US. So really finding an opportunity to tailor also our TV advertisement to your target group. We would love to do way more. There's some restrictions, and the TV market doesn't provide always the capabilities that we would love to have.
Like what? Excuse me. What's an example of the capability that's missing in TV?
I mean, being flexible in live, exchanging spots and getting the different spots aired in a way more shorter time and so on. That is just very manual processes still. When you do orders, it is still weeks ahead that you have to place some orders, depending on the market. But it's going a bit slower than compared to the online marketing, where you are very dynamic from today to tomorrow. You can take a decision, try out things, A/B testing. That are things that are not provided yet.
So I also want to refer back to the video that was played when I was walking up on stage. It wasn't just actually a commercial, but I wanted to play that because I think there's been, looking from the outside, there's been a really interesting cultural shift within, or maybe the shift is the wrong word, but a unique aspect to Trivago in its culture. So I remember kind of looking at and kind of researching the company in the early days. I was always struck by the fact that there was no CEO. There were 3 managing directors who were the 3 co-founders, and then you expanded, I think, to 4 or 5 managing directors. But it looked like a very flat hierarchy. And can you explain to me a little bit why were you structured in that way?
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, doesn't everyone have a CEO and a VPs and directors, and isn't that how it's supposed to work?
It comes a little bit to the point, we try to be a title-free company inside. We try to remove any status from individuals that show your seniority or your privileges, because you want to remain unbiased as an organization. We don't want decisions to be taken by seniority or title, and anything that helps to remove status and reduces ego of individuals in the organization helps to communicate more direct, communicate unbiased, reducing politics, creating trust among the individuals, and removing fear of challenging things. And that is one of the most important part for us, entrepreneurial passion, and finding people, individuals that actually challenge everybody in the organization on what we're doing. We have to stay liquid in our knowledge and want to learn continuously.
How do you feed ambition?
Feeding ambition.
I want to look.
Yeah.
I want to be. I'm director. I want to be a VP. I'm a VP. I want to be an SVP. I'm an SVP. I want to be.
I think that's great, and this is all rather extrinsic motivations, how we call it. Is it money? Is it a title? Is it status? And it's very extrinsic and short-term. It will satisfy for you very short-term, but in the long run, you will get hungry just to fight for these things. First, you start not reflecting what are you really good at as an individual, what are my strengths, and you might get stuck on one part that actually is maybe not your strength, but currently the easiest way to get another title. So being very reflective of what are my strengths, we help individuals to understand what they are good at, because we think when you do what you are good at, you will flourish and grow exponentially. And then I think what's the alternative to extrinsic motivation? Intrinsic. And where we work a lot on giving people challenges, giving them exciting challenges, opportunities where they can learn crazy, and they have a very steep learning curve, and that compensates by far an extrinsic motivation and keeps you sustainably motivated.
But now
through your work.
But now through the IPO process, though, and kind of post-IPO, you have a CEO. I think there's actually something that's been added to your title, so you've got a C in your title as well. Is that simply a cosmetic requirement for the marketplace, or have there been structural and cultural shifts within Trivago?
I think 2 parts of that to our part. I think one part is how you organize the world inside the company, and then you need to find a way to organize the world outside and make people understand what we're doing, who's doing what. In that context, we had quite some discussion around that. Will we do that? Will we not do that? But to provide clarity, and also going to the NASDAQ into the US, where we also said it might be extremely confusing, and we bring more clarity. Clarity is a very important part in communication. We decided to do that. On the culture?
Yeah.
Any questions?
Well, how do you maintain that small company startup, that culture, that innovation when you're now more than 1,000 employees?
Yes.
A public company. How do you do that?
It's one of the biggest challenges, I would say. And if you look at our strategic priorities for us as MDs, it's 4 out of 6 strategic priorities are of human or people and organizational nature, and we need to ask questions like, how do we get really the best talents on board? How do we empower them to operate independently in the organization? It's a big problem when you grow a lot And you have functional teams, a BI team, a tech team, and then everybody wants to have access to the resources. It's very difficult to create independency, so we have created micro units like mini startups in the organization that have access to all the resources they need. So you you maintain the entrepreneurial mindset, and you are not running through walls everywhere in the organization. So fostering that a lot, institutionalizing our values and making sure people understand what has made us successful and what we think will make us successful in the future. We have removed team leads very lately, so there are no team leads anymore. We go even more radical into changing directions.
So anyone in the organization can come to you or Malta or Rolf
Correct.
and
Correct. And
no,
it is
this
happening.
Is wrong. We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't go into this more.
Yes, and that's very important information flow that needs to happen into all the direction. And I think you are raising one point where our people fear to talk to anybody in the organization for political reasons or for perceived hierarchy reasons. And that's where we invest a lot in trust building. We do company events. Once a year we go with the whole company on a trip. We do team events. We're trying to mixing and find occasions where we meet, exchange, enjoy time together, and that is where you reduce walls and create bonds, where you can reduce the barriers to some degree, and that totally helps to have people challenging things and have people sharing information and making communication flow. Be honest, you can take faster decisions and so on. No?
Okay, actually, I love. You guys have probably figured out. I'm fascinated by company culture, and there's some amazing companies here. So I spend a lot of time on it, but I know we've got to talk meta search too. Let me switch gears a little bit. So number one, booking on meta search. What's going on? Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, everybody was all about booking on meta search. Kayak had been doing it for a while. Obviously, Trip has been kind of one of the biggest brands kind of going after that. You guys were talking about it.
Yeah.
At one point, now it's Skyscanner is still focused on that and kind of a different approach with flights. But so what's the status? Are we all pulling back? No more booking on metasearch?
Very, very interesting developments. Yeah, I think for us and I mean, our position was always very clear. We are not a booking site. We don't believe in this hybrid idea. We sell and explain, educate our users on we are a meta search. We make the market transparent for you with this tool. And the booking part, the reason why we have been doing this is to empower our advertisers to compete in our marketplace. Because there are advertisers that are very good in building a well-converting product and a good performing, converting booking funnel, and there are smaller ones that don't have the data, don't have the resources to do that. So we are providing this piece of technology to our advertisers. They put their brand on top. The Trivago brand is really not focused there, because we have seen, even if we put Trivago on this product, customers will call us for cancellation, for changing bookings, and that's a clear confusion that they don't understand that we are a meta search and not a booking site. So this position is clear. We want to be extremely good in the search and find the ideal hotel for the lowest rate, but not the booking site. And this hasn't changed. We are constantly rolling that out. It's now live in 12 markets, 6 languages, and we will continue doing that. We never took it as a big bet, that this is the future, and that's what we, from our culture, don't do. We don't want to fail big. We fail small and incrementally learn and improve our products.
You said something very interesting about kind of the imbalance in marketplaces today. There's been a lot of discussion, here actually. Of course, the biggest one is, I guess, within kind of the world of search and Google, and there are a few players that seem to be able to crowd out the rest of the market because of their power, their resources, their prowess in that. How do you empower the smaller hotels or even for that matter smaller OTAs, or do you find a lot of imbalance still on Trivago?
Yeah, it's one of our biggest investments we are doing, actually. More than 250 people hired in the last 2 years to focus on this. And I think one part I talked about, giving technology that gives you the performance that's competitive on a conversion level. The second one is we give bidding technology, because the two, let's say, the two main problems. One is conversion. You cannot compete on Google, you cannot compete on Trivago, you cannot compete on any other search if you don't have a good conversion. And then being extremely smart and good in which hotel do I place which bid. So how much do I pay for which hotel in our auction, in other search sites auction, and that is very important. And we provide technology on the booking side, we provide technology on the bidding side, so tools that advertisers can use to.
Is it having an effect? Like, for example, your family's or your parents' hotel. I mean, how can does your mom call you up and say, hey, Johannes, Booking.com, they keep on beating me. Like, what do I, like, what do you tell your mom?
It's not my mom that operates that part. So it's still instead of I mean. In our situation, it is with 23 rooms. There's a shortage of rooms in that city, so there's not a big problem. There's still a lot of loyal guests. But I think that will, the more you go into bigger cities, you will be facing problems. We have invested into the hotel technology company based on Booking, where you even provide technology, moving hotels from pen and paper to the digital world. And I think you published the research 2 years ago. I was really shocked seeing that only 30% of the European hotels have a PMS and still working with pen and paper. At best, they have Excel. And I think that's a huge problem. And if you see the evolution of online and the drive technology brings in terms of changing the world, they will have a very, very painful time, and a lot of them that don't embrace technology will have a slow death. And
so you think that technology, though, can be a leveler of the
I think this is the most important part. Technology has to be affordable, has to be simple. I don't give the blame to hotels. It's also the technology industry. The tools are not made for them. The tools are expensive. So it is a lot of problems sit in having access to good technology and competitive technology. Plus, we as marketing channels are too difficult to manage. Yeah? Our expectation to us is we have to be as easy to manage for a hotel as an OTA. So actually, you come to Trivago to operate direct marketing for your website. It has to be super simple. You can't expect a hotelier to study for years online marketing, understanding data, interpreting it. So we try to automate as much as possible so they can, with a click of a button, operate successfully on Trivago. Plus technology that we think we can push some gears into giving more competitiveness.
What's your moving to another marketplace, Google, where you spend a lot of money, but Google is also, in some respects, looking more and more like Trivago and offering products, right, that are competitive. How do you? Are they a friend or an enemy?
I think that's always this comparison.
I gave you two options.
Yeah. Frenemy, yeah?
Frenemy.
But I think we work very closely on the search side. We exchange a lot on culture, yeah? And we meet with people at Google that tell us how they face challenges and how they solved it that are applicable to us, and they inspire us on the cultural side, on the company side. So it's clear that they need to give better answer. If you look into the future of chatbots, of voice search, you want to give better answers quickly. So it's a move that's totally understandable. We still think we are miles ahead on the product, way simpler, way more coverage and prices. And then we have a company of 1,300 talents that are solely focused on hotels and don't do anything else but solving the problem of giving you the ideal hotel at the lowest rate. And that's focus, we think, plays a big role, where Google has lots of verticals to care about, to work about, lots of devices with maps, search. So there's a lot of complexity in it. They are learning. Excited to see where it goes.
So then one final question. Who do you guys worry about more, TripAdvisor or Google?
Definitely Google.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Johannes Thomas. Thank you.